Hey everyone, this is Thomas, and the video you're about to see is taken from my Skillshare course, How to Become a TV Commercial Director. And these are the topics that I cover in that course. You can find the link to the whole course in the description. So, as you can see, I use Keynote to design my treatments. Actually, you can use whatever program suits you, but I suggest that you talk to your producer or ask around what's the most used program, because it happened to me that I created my treatment in Keynote and then I had to pass it on to PowerPoint because the client didn't have a Mac. So if you can, ask around. Maybe you will get some limitation. If not, just use whatever program that you like most. In my case, it is Keynote. My designs depend on different factors. Sometimes I just put some photographs as the background. Sometimes it will be a more elaborate design. But in this case, this is just an example. So you have to understand you can do it in any possible way. And also it depends a lot on the project. Like colors, there might be color limitations. Like in case that your brand has blue as their main color and their competition has red. So you will try not to put the red color so much into this treatment because that's not their color, okay? And then sometimes it might be something totally serious, so it will have a darker tone. Maybe it's something funny, then you will use more colors. Those are things that you should consider. Okay, so in this case, my director's treatment was for a Colombian brand. I will not mention the name. Neither will I put the logos in it because it's confidential. So you will not find those logos that I normally put on there. In this case, I had some logos on the bottom, the production company's logo and the client's logo. Sometimes I even put the agency's logo. It always depends on several factors. Sometimes I put more information on the first page. Like if it's necessary, then I'll do it. If not, I'll leave it. So that would be the deck. Then most of the time I make an introduction. Not always do I put a title that says introduction. Also depends on the project, but in this case I did so. Then I put another subtitle and then a small text in which I greet the people who will read it, and where I make like a general statement. Maybe I will already say one or two things about the project, or maybe I will just say thank you very much for reading my vision of this project. Okay, it depends on you, whatever you want to put in there. Then also I want to tell you that it's not always the same order. Sometimes there could be a totally different order. So also don't take this as the only way to do it. This is just an example. So here we've got the tone and voice. As a subtitle I put Geico meets Volkswagen. That in my opinion represented very well what I was aiming at, what kind of humor, what kind of tone and voice. So I put them in the treatment and explained a little bit in words, in my own words, what I was going for. And many times, not always, I will have a reference for what I say. I always try to have one reference for everything that I explain or what I want to try to explain, because references help so much. That can be a spot, that can be a scene from a film, that can be even only a picture. So then there's the reference for it. I will not show it. Then I had a slide that was talking about the humor, and yes, because there's several niches of humor, several styles, and you want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And in this case, it was my suggestion what kind of humor I wanted to apply. There I had another reference for it. Again, I will not show it completely. Then I was talking about the rhythm, about what kind of edition I was imagining. That's not something I always put in there, but in this case I felt it was important to mention because it was about contrasts. So I explained a little bit what I was thinking of and again referenced it with a spot that I had found. Next slide is about cinematography, where I put all of the information that I think they need about what kind of image they can expect from this spot. I explain camera work, I explain color work, lighting, all of this stuff so that they can already have an image in their mind and make decisions if they like it or not. In this case, I was talking about that I wanted a clean picture, well lit, natural colors and stuff like that. I didn't want to have too much movement and so on. I again referenced it, and then I was talking about how the production should be run. I talked about the team. I talked about how I wanted to try have a small team because we needed to move a lot for this project. So I really wanted to have a compact team and also equipment. And I talked about how I'd suggest 2 days of shooting and things like that. Then I made a slide about locations because there were several locations. Most of them were exteriors. And of course, you still don't know where you will shoot if you win this job. But you will have to propose something. And that doesn't have to be an existing place already. But you look for something that can be even a Google image, just to reference a place that you feel would work perfectly fine for this project. And then, if you win the job, you try to find a place similar to whatever you proposed, or you recreate this location, which is not as easy for exteriors as for interiors, where you can even use just a green screen and do some visual effects. And yeah, then I referenced some places. I also talked about transitions. Transitions is something that I not always talk about because sometimes you just want hard cuts and stuff like that. Like you don't want to use anything fancy, and you have to say that. If you need transitions that include VFX or anything like that, it's very important that you communicate it both to the client and your producer, because they have to know what they have to put in the budget. So in this case, I talked about transitions both visually and on a sound level. And then there was something very unique to the project about a cat. I will not go into it as it is a confidential project. I will not talk about a cat in every treatment, but in this case, it was important to mention it. Again, I referenced it. Then I had a slide about sound design, which included talking about direct sound, dialogue, music, and the voiceover. Then there was a slide about acting, which was very important to talk about because the whole project was very simple and the most important thing on the screen was the acting. Then I explained some points that were important to me that I wanted to include in the acting. I told them how I wanted it to be natural, I wanted to create some contrasts, and so on. Of course, also, therefore, I found some references because you want to support whatever you say with an image or a video. And then I talked about the casting itself, explained that I was looking for normal people that were so normal and boring that it would make you laugh. I wrote a little bit going into detail. And also unique to this project, the skits and jokes, because it was several spots and each of them had an own skit, and I was provided the script with all those skits, but I tried to put in some more things that would make them even funnier. Then I talked about each of the spots and put in some ideas which we could discuss with the client. It's always good to have some options to propose, but also be prepared that not all of your ideas will be liked. And as in this case, the product was an app. It needed some exposure. It's not like a product where you make a product shot. You have to show something on the screen. You have to show something that moves. So I came up with some ideas. Again, looked for some references that would support it and made my suggestion. And another part of the whole project was some demo videos, which I wanted to keep very simple. So again, I wrote a text explaining what I imagined, what I thought was best. I found a nice reference for it, which I showed them. Also, I talked about the credits, about titles, if I wanted an animation or not. This could be another slide if there's animation, if there's credits that are very important, that have something special. You should talk about it. Even if it's a very simple animation, you have to communicate it, because maybe the client wants something else. And then I close with a thank you. And the logos, which I didn't include in this treatment. Let's see if we have some other examples. I will not show the whole treatments, just fractions, so that you can get some ideas of what you could put into the approach. Here is another treatment I did for also a Colombian company. As you can see, the tone was much darker. It was comedy also, but with a dark tone. And in this case, I felt important to talk about the color palette that I would use in the rooms and the locations. The interior design was very important to the story, to the spot. So I made sure to cover as many things that I could. In this case, I also attached a selection of my show reel because it was a new agency and they didn't know me. Sometimes I even put like a small text about me, who I am, what I do, and a picture of mine, but it depends on the treatment. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And in this project, I added a slide that said, "Who's it for?" And then I explained who was our main target, and I explained why, and that was my transition to talk about the tone and voice, so that there would be an explanation for the choices I made. Now, in this case, there was a product shot, so of course I had to talk about it, and I referenced it in this case with one of my own works. And went also into detail because it was not just an appearance of the product, but also there was a consuming part, and there I wanted to explain something of an experience. Sometimes I even start talking already about wardrobe. If it's something very special, if it is something very important to the picture, then I will mention it also in the treatment. Well, now you see that there is very different approaches. There is topics that you cover in one but not in another treatment. And you understand that if you start with a design, you should try to maintain it. Try to find a design that represents the brand and the language and tone that you are trying to convey. Now, if you wonder where you can get those references from, here are some tips. There are many tools on the internet, but I will only show you a few. And with this knowledge, I think you should be able to investigate other tools. So on one hand, there is iSpot.tv. They have a lot of ads and commercials, and you can browse them. And I think they have a paid membership that allows you the use of many other tools. But in the free version, like if you don't log in, you still can browse different commercials. Another good tool is bestadsontv.com. Same principle. So you can browse them, but you will have to pay for each video that you download, or you have a pro membership and then you can download as many as you want. This is a tool that I only recently found and I love it. Here you will not find references for commercials, but rather for movies. It used to be free, but the beta version now is ending, so it will cost something, but I think it's worth it. So you have here a lot of options to browse. You can browse for color. Let's hit red. And then you can say interior, exterior. Let's say exterior, and so on. And then you can look for those references and download them. I think it's great. And then of course there's Vimeo. I always go to the categories and choose a category that I think will help me find a good reference. In this case, let's say it's fashion. And then you can go and browse all the videos and watch them. There's a tip that I would like to give you. Let's say we go on a video and you might love this reference so much and wish for other references that look maybe similar. Sometimes you get lucky looking at the collections, because sometimes people make their own collections with very similar topics and videos. So there's this tip from me. Okay, I think with these tools you should be ready to start a treatment and find great references.
Bonus: social media and digital. We live in a time and age in which social media is very important to the brands. This is your time to shine. Most directors only focus on the spot itself and might put down a two-liner about the digital part. But don't underestimate the power of a good treatment that includes gold nuggets for social media. Treat it like a very important part of the treatment. Think about what you can get out of the material on shooting days that can give you that extra credit to winning the job. So what I suggest you should do is dedicate it enough time and come up with interesting proposals as to how to exploit the digital part of the project.